Good morning. If you're interested in the workshop today, right now where you are, it's together. We can do what we could never do alone, meetings and fellowship. So if you think you want this, this is the place you should be, right? Okay, my name is Lisa N. and I'm from Wisconsin. I am a compulsive overeater. Welcome to the first ever Dallas Virtual Convention. This session's format is one speaker for 30 minutes. Then the floor will be open for 2-minute Q&A and shares. Before I introduce the speaker, here is some housekeeping information. Attendees are set to mute. We ask you to rename yourself to your first name and last initial. If you wish, you can add your phone number or email. This session is being recorded. Only the audio portion will be made available. Please stop your video if you are walking around, driving, or eating. You will still be able to hear the session. We may turn off your video for you. Please send a chat message when you are ready to have your video turned back on. If you want to change your view settings, click on the View button on the top right of your screen. You may choose either Gallery or Speaker View. Also, please note that chat is set to host only. Questions and comments will only be seen by the host. And I'd like to say our speaker today is Mike Kay from Colorado. Thank you, Mike, for your service and welcome.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, for those of you who have your video off, I want to see you all because it's important for me to see all the gorgeous faces, and that includes you, Tana. So anyway, let me get started here. My name is Mike. I'm an abstaining, maintaining, compulsive overeater from Denver, Colorado. And here are just some quickie things that you just need to know. As of today, I have been in Overeaters Anonymous 16,504 days, which equals 45 years, 2 months, and 7 days. And by God's grace, I have been abstinent 15,288 days, which equals 41 years, 10 months, and 8 days. And which here's some other fascinating statistics. Because I have a degree in accounting, I always like these statistics. I have been in Overeaters Anonymous 66.7% of my life, and I have been abstinent by God's grace 61.7% of my life. I came into the program when I was 22 years old, so I'll be honest, I'm 67 years, 9 months, and 12 days old. So been around for a long time. The topic of this is together we could do what we could never do alone, meetings and fellowship. There's one thing that I want to let you know, and that is, I figured some stuff up. That is like 542 months that I've been in this program. So if you multiply 542 times 4, it's over 20 some hundred meetings. I've been over at least one, I've averaged at least one meeting a week for all of those weeks, over 2,000 weeks. And I can tell you that it's one of the most important things that I've ever done in my life. Just a quick things about my life. You know how long I've been in OA. I come from a good German, Irish, Roman Catholic, Kansas farm family, and food was very important to us. I was an obese child. I always was a fat child. So I grew up, I'm one of those individuals that grew up fat. And I understand what it's like to be a fat kid, a fat teenager, and a fat young adult. So I'm one of 7 children. My eldest brother had cerebral palsy, so in actuality, I was kind of the first to do a lot of stuff in the family. So one of the things that how I got into OA was very simple. My mom was the guinea pig. She had tried everything. She had gone to many weight loss organizations. She tried this and that, and nothing ever worked for her. And I figured if it didn't work for mom, it was never going to work for me. And so I never tried anything. My only foray into weight loss has been Overeaters Anonymous. My top weight that I know of was 232 pounds. And that's only because I was weighed for my college physical. I had mowed a lawn that morning, and I think it was some water weight there was there too. But anyway, the last time I was weighed was at the doctor's, and so it was 157 pounds. So been maintaining between a 75, 80 pound weight loss for over 41 years or so. So it is possible to do that. One of the tools that they talk about in the 12-step way of life is meetings. I've gone to numerous meetings. And one of the things I want to talk about meetings is I have found that it's most important for me to have, quote, a home meeting. A home meeting is a place where I go weekly. And I have been going to this one particular meeting here in Colorado for over 25 years or so. And the thing about about having a home meeting is that I get to see the same people week after week, and I get to see their recovery. They get to see my recovery. I get to welcome newcomers and all that. I'm going to be quoting out of OA literature today, the For Today book, the Voices of Recovery book, and the 12 Steps, 12 Traditions of Overeaters Anonymous book. And I have it all marked. On page 141 of the For Today book, it says that how well I know that feeling of being at home in an OA meeting. No matter how far I may be from my home group, the warm welcome, the nods of understanding tell me I am in the company of people with whom I have more in common than my friends and associates. I think that that's probably one of the most important things. When I went to my very, very first meeting, I felt at home because I'd never been to OA before. I was home. And I wanted to go back with my mom to her meeting, and she said, no, go find your own meeting. So I did whatever a compulsive overeater would do. I ate for 2 weeks. And then I went to my first meeting on April the 6th of 1976 at the fire station in downtown Olathe, Kansas. That became my home meeting while I lived in the Kansas City area. I found out later they had bets that they didn't think that I would ever show back up. But I was a desperate kid because I didn't want to gain the weight back again. I had lost a lot of the weight. I just did not. And for those of you who are there, you know what that at home feeling is like. You go in and you see the same folks and you just go, oh, there's so-and-so, and there's Tana, and there's Mary, and oh yes, and I don't have to go through all the crap and tell them my whole life story again because I've heard it dozens of times. You know, it's just one of those, I just tell them what's going on with me the next time. The other thing is on page 286 of the OA, of the For Today book, it says that one of the great strengths of Overeaters Anonymous is our usefulness to one another. Just by being present at meetings, we are doing a useful service for our fellow members as well as ourselves. Isn't that wonderful? We get to be of service to somebody else. I mean, it's not just me. Yes, I know it's a selfish program, but little did I know that being a mouthy little character can actually be of service to somebody else to help them get what they might not have. You know what I mean? I think it's so important. Is our usefulness to one another. We get to be of service to one another, folks. That is so vitally important. On page 295 of the For Today book, it says, OA was there when I came in, and will it always be there? Or will it? I must admit, I took it for granted that there would always be someone to open the meeting, make coffee, put out literature, and clean up afterward. I didn't volunteer to do anything like that because I had too many other responsibilities. And besides, there were plenty of people who liked to do those jobs. Then something happened. 2 people moved away. Another began working nights and had to find a meeting to attend. And suddenly there wasn't anyone to do all the things I took for granted. I am grateful that was all it took for me to wake up. So here's the question, folks. Are you a member of the group, or are you an active participant in the group? There's a difference. Being a member means you just show your happy butt up and sit in the chair every week and not do a damn thing. An active participant means that you not only share your strength, hope, and experience, my friends, but you give service at the group level by being the greeter, by saying, oh, I'll make phone calls this week, by doing a whole lot of stuff that is so important, like how many times have you been to meeting? Who's going to chair the meeting this week? And everybody sits there like a bump on a log. It's kind of like, duh, which way did they go, George? It's kind of like, do something, folks. Be there, be active, be participants, be the treasurer, sign up to lead a meeting, do something. Because meetings aren't just for me, they're for other folks. And we can do that and have a wonderful time. I mean, heavenly days. And then on page 338 of the For Today book, it says, I go to meetings because it is where I feel at home. Here I meet friends, join in warm conversation, and express my feelings. Here I am accepted. OA seemed strange to me in the beginning, but people reached out and said, you never have to take another compulsive bite again, and I believed them. They listened when I talked, comforted me when I was distressed, cheered my newfound abstinence. Before long, I was seeking out newcomers to welcome them as I had been welcomed, to listen with patience and understanding. Yes, I am at one with my brothers and sisters. And the For Today meditation is, thank God for OA meetings where compulsive overeaters don't have to explain or defend or try to be something they're not. They just share themselves as they are. Isn't that one of the most wonderful things that we can be in this program? Is just ourselves. I don't have to be Mr. Perfect. I don't have to be Mr. This. I don't have to be anything but plain old Mike, just a plain old abstaining compulsive overeater who doesn't know how to live without this program in his life. And I mean that from the depths of my soul. It is just so marvelous, folks, to go to a meeting. And many of you, I'm sure, have been around for a long, long time. And isn't it just wonderful to be there with these folks who know us, who the minute we walk in, they can see that something's wrong. Or if we're for those of us who are a little more mouthy than others, when we come in and we're exceptionally quiet, people will come up and say, are you okay? What's going on? And it's not that they're trying to be nosy. It's they understand. They really are concerned. That's what's so important. On page 191 of the Voices of Recovery, it says, being a part of the group is essential to recovery from the disease of isolation. It means supporting and being supported by our fellow OA members. Isn't that wonderful, folks? We have support from folks who know us, who want to be with us, and who understand. Remember, it says being a part of the group is essential to recovery from our disease of isolation, our dis/ease of isolation. It means supporting and being supported by others. That's one of the most important things. I know that many of us come in here and some of us are just blasted, scared to death of people. For God's sakes, it's kind of like, oh, I just don't know what to do. And I just don't know how to do this. And wah. I know, been there, done that, got food all over the t-shirt and stayed. Where else am I going to go? I'm too cheap to go anyplace else, folks, honest to God. I just, as I said, OA is my first and only place that I've ever tried to get the weight off, to shed the weight, and I'm most grateful. Here's a little tidbit that I wanted to share that I should have way at the beginning. I weigh less now than what my driver says. Now that, my friend, is something that many folks cannot say. Not taking inventory in this group, but in society as a whole. So that's one of the other things. We can have so much fun in OA. We can cackle and giggle and act like the bad trash in heat that we really are in OA, and just be with the folks who understand at meetings, because we are here with one another. Here with one another. Now, there's another part. It's one thing going to meetings, but fellowship is very important to me as well. You know, because I'm a single individual, the fellowship keeps me from being isolated and alone. And I don't know about some of you, but when we were meeting face to face, we would go out to lunch afterwards and have a wonderful time. And the fun part about it was, I wasn't worried about what other people was eating. It's none of my damn business. But what was fun was to be with other people and have an abstinent meal and just be that's wonderful. Some people went to go to coffee afterwards. That's so very important. But you know what? Some of the best fellowship I've ever had are what I call the parking lot meetings, where you're out in the parking lot after the meeting and you're not structured as to 3-minute pitches. Thank you. When you're together in the parking lot, you can just really interrupt one another and just get all excited, have more excitement, and just go, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's so important. This is so important for me. It's just marvelous, folks. It's just marvelous. One of the things about fellowship is, the most important thing about fellowship, COVID has been one of the worst things that's ever happened to us as a nation, and one of the best things that's ever happened to us as a nation, because look at what's going on. You're having a virtual convention, and look at the meeting that you're having. You're having speakers. You've got folks from Colorado. You've got folks from Wisconsin. I'm going to pick on Wisconsin for a minute. You got folks from Wisconsin. You've got folks from Texas. You've got folks from Louisiana. You've got folks from all over the place. You wouldn't have never had that if it hadn't been for COVID. And Zoom meetings are just as vitally important as any other meeting you get. And I go to probably 3 or 4 Zoom meetings a week because I'm able to do so. And I've met some wonderful people from all over the country. I go to a wonderful meeting on Tuesday night. It's a gay men's meeting. And it's not, one of the things I have to say about that, being a gay boy in Kansas was not a very easy thing to do, but I survived it and I ate compulsively. But with these men who are, many are in other 12-step programs too, folks, they're recovering, and we get to share our strength, hope, and experience. You know what it's like when we're with our own. And sometimes we have to be even more insular with our other own. You know what I mean? Like the diabetics, or the 100-pound weight loss folks, or folks who are in two 12-step programs, and there's meetings like that. Yeah. That's so important. You ever sat in a meeting and been bitchy, going, I just wish that person would shut up and sit down. By God, we've heard them complain about the same thing for the past 17 years. Don't they have anything new going on in their life? Well, you know, in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, on page 419, in the story Acceptance Was the Answer, it's about focusing. It says, The more I focus my mind on the defects of a meeting, late start, long drunkalog, cigarette smoke, thank God we don't have that, the worse the meeting becomes. But when I try to see what I can add to the meeting rather than what I can get out of it, and when I focus my mind on what's good about it rather than what's wrong with it, the meeting gets better and better. When I focus on what's good today, I have a good day. And when I focus on what's bad, I have a bad day. If I focus on a problem, the problem increases. If I focus on the answer increases. Folks, if you go to a meeting that you sit there and go, this just isn't working for me, what are you doing to add to the meeting? It's our responsibility to be there and have a good time and to share our strength, hope, and experience and to do this stuff. The other part of it is, I'm going to ask, you're going to get a little bit of traditions 4 and 5 today. You know, tradition 4 is each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or OA as a whole. And here's one of the things that I think is interesting. You know, there are those questions that are in the back of the traditions. If you want to really find out, here's what I believe, before I get started on that, here's what I believe about the traditions. The traditions are not really for the groups. The traditions really are for the individuals of that group to teach us how to become good active participant and members of that group. So instead of reading these questions in the first person, in the third person, read it in the first person. Let me show you what I mean. Do I feel there are only a few right ways of doing things in OA? Do I respect the rights of other groups to have practices different than what I see in my meeting? Oh, these are wonderful questions. And here's one. Do I keep myself in control or influence from outside of OA? Do I practice the principle of autonomy by taking responsibility for my own actions and avoiding attempts to control the actions of others? Folks, if you want to do a 4th step inventory that's very thorough, take the questions from the 12 traditions, and put them in first person. The other one that I'm going to harp on now is tradition 5. Tradition 5 says each group has but one primary purpose: to carry its message to the compulsive overeater who still suffers. So I'm just going to read these questions to you in the first person, and you answer them in your own way, but I'll tell you what I think. Do I welcome newcomers to my group and give them individual attention personally, or do I just go and be with my friends and just go, oh, there's somebody new? You know, am I being really there for that person? Here's another question. Do I concentrate sufficiently on OA's primary purpose? Do I focus my discussion on the 12 steps, the 12 traditions and tools and recovery from compulsive eating? Or do I just talk about the events of my life without sharing how the program is helping me? Do I try to make the OA known to people outside who need help? In what ways do I support our intergroup service board, region, and world service in my effort to reach out? Do I volunteer to help newcomers, visitors, or other members who need transportation to attend our meetings? What do I think? What do I do to welcome back members who are returning to OA? Do I make a point to welcome new members, talk with them, and offer phone numbers or email addresses? Do I help members? Can members find sponsors in our group? And am I willing to sponsor? Do I make a point to call newcomers or members who have been missing from the meeting? Do I remember longtime members who still suffer physically, emotionally, and spiritually? How do I treat the member who is facing difficulties with compulsive eating or with life? These, my friends, are the questions, excuse me, these are the questions that I think I need to ask myself each week before I go to that meeting. Think about these questions. When we see somebody come back to OA, do we go up and welcome them and say, "It's so wonderful to see you back. Welcome home"? Or do we just go, "Oh, they're back again"? I mean, I have to watch for my judgmental attitude. You know what I'm talking about? Some of you I don't think are judgmental. Me, I'm the king of judgment. I sit there and go, why don't they just shut up and talk about the 12 steps and 12 traditions? And it's kind of like, Michael, remember what you were like when you first came in. You were just a damn 3-ring circus and a mess. Let's put it that way. And I was a mess. And a mess means I was mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and sexually in deep trouble. It's only by working the steps and traditions, by doing that, by coming back to meetings to talk and listen to other people. I'm one of those, believe it or not, I do shut up and listen. And when I don't try to hear people, I really try to listen to people. See, there's a difference. I can hear all day long, but am I listening to what is being shared? Am I really listening to the pain that that individual has? And after they share, am I willing to go up and say, what can I do to help? Because people have done that for me. You know, every time we go to a meeting, we are given grace. We are given the grace, and I have an acronym for grace. Gratefully and graciously receiving abstinence from compulsive eating. That's what grace is. Graciously, gratefully receiving abstinence from compulsive eating. That's what we get, folks, when we go to a meeting. Whether we are wiping the spaghetti sauce off our face after a binge and walk into a meeting, we're still given that grace, folks. We're still given that grace. Isn't that wonderful? My gosh, so many people have given me so much love and compassion when I never thought that I deserved it. They have given me goodness. They have cared for me. They have loved me. They have prayed for me. And that's what we do for each other. I truthfully want to let you know that I honestly am very humbled and honored to be here doing this workshop for you all. And to my dear sweet Tana, thank you, honey. Thank you so much for all the years that you've been there, you know. And I'm singling her out because we served at the region level together for many years. And she was there to support me, and that's what we do. We support one another. And you know, folks, when my mom died, when my eldest brother died, and when my dad died, I was able to abstain, and I was able to go to meetings, and I was able to talk about the pain, and I was able to tell the people, you know, I'm only able to do this because I have my meetings. I have the people who understand. I just do, folks. I just do. It's so marvelous. And one of the things that I'm going to say, get off your butts and give service, folks. I don't care how long you've been in. And sometimes the best service for me is to not give service because I'm always doing something. And sometimes I have to say, I have to use that wonderful disco song that Barbara Streisand and Donna Summers sang. Enough is enough. Sometimes The best service I can give to myself is no service outside of working with other people, because I need time to care for myself. Meetings are a way for me to care for me and to let you all know that I care. Zoom meetings have been a big boon to a lot of folks because we've got to go all over the world and see all kinds of meetings. But there's nothing like being with one another and sharing our strength, hope, and experience, touch one another, to hold each other's hand, to say the serenity prayer, and also to give that loving OA hug and say, I don't care how big or how small or whatever problems you have, let me hold you in the arms of God. Let me be God with skin on it and give you the hug that you need. And you know, I've got 43 seconds left, and believe it or not, I'm done.
Well, thank you, Mike. That was so energizing. I feel terrific just listening to you. It was beautiful.
Oh,
Thank
thank you. You're welcome.
All right, we will now open the floor for 2-minute question and answers and shares for the speaker. Please focus your questions and shares on the topic of this meeting. For those who arrived late, the topic of this session is Together We Can Do What We Could Never Do Alone, Meetings and Fellowship. Place your questions in the chat and the Zoom host will read them to the speaker. Please focus your shares on answering the question, what is your main takeaway? How will you apply this to your program? To share, please raise your virtual hand by selecting Raise Hand at the bottom of the reaction menu located at the bottom of your screen or at the bottom of the participant list. If you are joining by phone only, please use *9 to raise and lower your hand. The leader will call on you to share. Please select Unmute to speak. The timer will signal when time's up. The meeting is now open for Q&A and sharing. Oh, and I see already there's a hand up. We have Dolores. Dolores, would you unmute yourself, please? Dolores, oh, can you unmute? Can somebody help Dolores unmute?
I've been asking to unmute, as well as I did allow in security for people to unmute, so I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm looking at Dolores Proto. Sorry, there must be another Dolores. You want to go ahead then? I'm sorry, what is your name?
Just trying.
Dolores has to accept the ask to unmute.
Okay, who can do that for her?
I've already done it.
Okay.
Yeah, no one can do that for her, but Swan has got her hand up, so why
All
don't
right.
we allow Swan to go, and Dolores, you keep working on it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. My name's Swan. I'm a compulsive overeater anorexic.
Nice one.
Mike, you had a reading today that said, you know, it referenced the cigarette smoke, and my understanding I learned last year was the reason it was anonymous to begin with was because you couldn't see the other people through the cigarette smoke when they started Alcoholics Anonymous. And I want to thank you. That's what I'm adding today for my meeting part here. And I just want to thank you that you keep coming back. You know, 45 years is a gift, and people don't return to this group because it's not working. We keep coming back because it is working, and then we have something to give away. And your story's tremendous and wonderful, and I'm just so grateful I got the opportunity to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Dolores Proto, how are you doing there? I'm not able to do it. Okay. All right. We have Sue H then.
Hi, good morning, and thank you, Mike. I've recently read in one of our literature books that service was a spiritual practice. And so I was wondering if you could speak, if that's true for you, and what other spiritual practices that you feel you are incorporating into your recovery. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to see you. Um, uh, yes, service is very much part of that because service gets me out of me. You see this, I really believe that I was put on this earth not to just take care of myself, but to be of service to God and to others. And when I get out of myself and do stuff that sometimes I don't like to do or want to do, but I do, it's one of the biggest services that I can give. The other spiritual practice that I do is I do pray a lot. Honest to goodness, I pray a great deal. And the other, and I want you to know one of the biggest spiritual practices that I have is for praying for people that irritate the living crap out of me. That is that's one of the most difficult things I have ever done, folks, is to pray for people that I can't stand because you know what? I realize that they too are children of a power greater than myself. And sometimes I might be the person that they don't like. The spiritual principles of that that we have for each step in tradition are the things that I try to live by on a daily basis. Sometimes I'm really good at it, and sometimes I ain't worth a tinker's damn. And also, before I forget, I want you to know that by God's grace and because of being at maintenance, I'm wearing this shirt that I have on today is the shirt that I wore at the World Service Convention in 2016 in Boston.
Wow.
That's a spiritual principle of leaving the food alone.
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Sue. And now I have Mary H.
Hi, Mike. It's good to hear you again. It's been years since I've heard you speak. And one of the things that every time I hear you and people like you, I am drawn by your sense of humor. And I'm reminded that we are not a glum lot. You know, we come and we cry and we come and we rant and we come and we do things. And I have found in various years when I've been more or less in recovery, whether or not the times were hard, one of the things that I find is that if I am solidly in recovery, I am not glum about things. And when I start whinging and moaning and being resentful of life as it is, that's a sign that I'm in relapse, even if my food's fine. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. And one of the things, you know, what I really do believe, Mary, what you were talking about, the sense of humor, we can laugh with people and not at people. And that's one of the greatest gifts that we have. We can laugh with people and not at people because we're laughing at ourselves and with ourselves.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. And then Tana, I saw your hand up, but I don't see you anymore.
Here. Hi, my name is Tana. And that kind of ties into why I have these little cute things on my hair. Because I've got a lot of different colored ones and I've got all kinds of stuff, especially for Zoom meetings, because people can't really know my personality if I don't have it on. But it's also because I'm a member of the 132 Club, which is in the Alcoholics Anonymous book. And it says, if newcomers could see no joy in our existence, they wouldn't want what we have. And why shouldn't I celebrate and be happy? Because I am recovering. And by the grace of God, I've been going to the same OA meeting for 42 years. And I even had to take a college class at another college so I couldn't miss my Wednesday night meeting for 16 weeks. So I got special dispensation to go take statistics at a different school because my meeting is that important to me. And I always call it my meeting because it is my meeting. And, you know, at meetings, they say that you hear a lot of times at meetings that the newcomer is the most important person in the meeting. And I don't really believe that because for me, I need old timers there. I need people who've been there longer than I have to show me that there is hope and that there is recovery. And then I've decided the very most important person for me at the meeting is me. Because if my butt is not in a meeting, I'm in trouble. So thank you.
And
Thank you, Tom.
one of the things that Tana, I just want to, that happy, joyous, and free is so important. So very important to show folks that, because God knows many of us have already been the other H, J, and F, which is horny, jealous, and flaky. And we've been that in our lives. So let's just be the happy, joyous, and free.
Good.
I'm wondering if Dolores was able to.
Dolores, do we still have you?
Yeah, she's
up
not been
here,
able
but-
to unmute. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
That's too bad.
All right.
I don't know
Well-
how to.
Does anybody else have a question for Mike? Well, I have a question for Mike,
Sure.
if I may. Tell me a little bit about how you sponsor people.
I don't sponsor.
Okay.
But let me explain. I don't sponsor because I don't like that term.
Okay.
Because I think it's a misnomer, because if they go back to the years to find out how it was really done, I follow what it says in chapter 7 of the Big Book. That the title of that chapter is not controlling others, not telling others what to do, not bossing others. That I don't sponsor. I do what chapter 7 says. I work with others.
Mm.
And I don't tell people what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, and all that other stuff, because I'm not a registered dietitian or nutritionist. Don't tell them. I tell them to go seek medical assistance. When I work with others, what I do is we do the we read each of the steps out of the 12 and 12, but the way I do it is we read the chapter and then we answer the questions out of the workbook. I didn't say they answer the questions. I said we answer the questions. And so I only have them do 6 questions a week. And then what I do is when we get together, we take turns answering the questions. And that way I get to hear what's going on with them, and they get to hear what kind of character they ask to help them walk through the steps.
Thank you. That's excellent. Anyone else have a question for Mike?
Hi, this is Beth, compulsive overeater. I don't truly have a question per se, but Mike, I just wanted to thank you for some amazing recovery information and a lot of great nuggets to carry with me for the rest of my recovery. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Oh, and here's a hint. The best meetings I've ever attended are the ones that are focused on OA literature. At my home meeting, what we do, the first meeting of the month is we do the step. The second meeting of the month, we do either an Ask It Basket or some other OA literature. The third meeting of the month, we do the tradition of the month, and then have our steering committee meeting for 15 minutes. The fourth meeting of the month, we read out of the Big Book. The fifth meeting of the month, if there is one, we have a speaker. But I have found that the meetings that are very focused on the literature and stuff don't go off into ookie land with about 37 different hundred ways of going. And when I lead a meeting, and if it's a topic meeting, I say, this is the topic. Some people say, oh, the topic is this, and you can talk on whatever you want to talk about. No, this is the topic. Talk on the topic.
Yes.
But just saying, I'm really not that much of a hard ass, folks, but that's what I kind of believe.
Okay. Anyone else? We do have time yet for another question. Mike, is it okay if we share your email with everybody?
Sure.
Okay, is there any other way you prefer to be contacted? Would you like texting, calls?
You can text. You can text.
Text.
as
Okay,
well.
we just need your
I've been putting it
Yeah.
in the chat, Lisa.
Yes.
oh great, thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, great. Appreciate that.
And before you go, truthfully, I've really had a lot of fun. And I really liked the fact that I was asked to do this thing on meetings, because I really think the importance of this is, with the pandemic and all that stuff, it really forced us to work our program in a way that many of us have never worked it before, and to reach out to many folks that we've never reached out to before, not only in our home area, but outside of our home areas, to hear that strength, hope, and experience. And once again, I know we're not supposed to single anybody out, but I don't give a darn. Thank you, Tana, for remembering me and for asking me to do this, because I had more fun looking this stuff up to try and share my strength, hope, and experience, and hope that I lived up to your expectations, dear.
Yes, you did.
Well, we have time for one quick more question if anybody's got a burning desire. No? All right, then. Well, we would like to thank you, Mike. You did a terrific job. And everyone who is attending, thank you also for being here. We will now have a 10-minute transition break to get ready for our main speaker in room A. Please leave this room and go to room A to be a part of the main session on building a new foundation for recovery, steps 1 through 3. We'll start at 11:10. So
Before we go,
yes,
let's just, I would say, just unmute, and we'll have the cacophony of the Serenity Prayer.
oh, I love that. I love that. Can everybody do that? Okay, great. You want to lead us, Mike?
Sure. After a moment of silence for the still suffering compulsive overeater at this meeting and outside the walls, let's remember those. God, grant me the
serenity
to accept
to accept the things I cannot change.
Courage to
Courage to
change
change
the
things I
can,
can.
and wisdom
To
know
know
the difference.
Yay.
Keep coming back, it works.
back.
Yay!
And you're worth it.
You were wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
So awesome.
Thank you.
What an awesome